The human server looked up, suddenly meeting Zara's gaze. The Empress expected her to look away. Most humans found direct eye contact with Netherians uncomfortable, but this one smiled, a simple gesture that somehow conveyed both respect and warmth. "Your Majesty," the human said with a slight bow. "I am Kate. I hope everything is to your satisfaction." Before Zara could respond, her daughter's hover chair moved forward. "Human Kate, I am Princess Lyra. Would you explain these food items you are preparing?" Zara, prepared to intervene. Humans were often uncomfortable around Lyra. Her condition and alien appearance together sometimes proved too strange for them, but Kate simply adjusted her stance to be at eye level with the princess. "Of course, Princess, these are traditional foods from different Earth regions. I would be happy to explain them to you." For the next 20 minutes, Kate patiently described each item, answering Lyra's endless questions with remarkable patience. The other diplomats continued their formal discussions, but Zara found herself watching her daughter and this human woman, their interaction so natural, so unforced. "This is chocolate," Kate explained, holding up a small brown square. "It comes from cacao trees that grow near Earth's equator. Many humans consider it one of our greatest creations." Lyra examined the small square. "It does not appear impressive." Kate laughed, a musical sound that drew the attention of several diplomats. "The appearance deceives, the taste is what matters. Would you like to try it? Your bioscan reports indicate it is safe for Netherian consumption." Lyra looked to her mother for permission. Zara hesitated, then nodded. The diplomatic team had cleared most human foods as safe, if not particularly appetizing, to Netherian biology. Lyra accepted the small square, placing it carefully in her mouth. Her eyes widened as the chocolate melted. "It changes," she exclaimed. "The texture, the flavor, everything transforms." Kate nodded. "That is why humans love it so much. The experience changes moment by moment, just like life." Zara watched this exchange with growing interest. This server spoke with unusual wisdom for her station. Perhaps humans did not organize their society by intellectual capacity as Netherians did. "Human Kate," Zara said, "you speak well for a food server." Kate met her gaze again, that same direct look that few diplomats dared. "On Earth, Your Majesty, we often contain multitudes. I serve food here, but I am also a teacher of dance and movement." "Dancer?" Lyra asked, her interest clearly piqued. "You teach body movement patterns." "I do," Kate replied. "Specifically, I teach dance to children whose bodies work differently than others. Children who use mobility devices, like your chair." Lyra went very still, something Zara recognized as her daughter's way of controlling intense emotion. "You teach immobile humans to dance. How is this possible?" Later, as the formal reception transitioned to what humans called a social hour, music began to play, Earth music. With its strange rhythms and harmonies, the diplomats continued their discussion, some now more relaxed as human alcoholic beverages were served. Netherians did not consume alcohol, but appreciated its effect on making humans more direct in their communication. Lyra watched the humans begin to dance. Her eyes filled with longing. Zara felt the familiar ache. Lyra would never dance, would never experience the movement rituals so central to Netherian culture. The genetic disorder had taken that from her. Then Kate approached Lyra's chair again. "Princess, would you like to dance?" Zara stiffened, preparing to explain, but Kate continued. "On Earth, we have many ways of dancing. Some require no movement at all except here." She touched her head, and, "Here." She placed a hand over her heart. Before Zara could object, Kate was demonstrating moving her arms in patterns while explaining to Lyra how to follow with her eyes, how to feel the music through vibration, and then somehow impossibly Lyra was dancing. Her hover chair remained stationary, but her upper body and arms moved in perfect sync with Kate's, their hands mirroring each other, their movements creating a dance that needed no legs. Zara watched transfixed as her daughter experienced, for the first time, something she had believed forever beyond her reach. Joy radiated from Lyra, her skin glowing with the bioluminescence that Netherians displayed only in moments of pure happiness. The other diplomats noticed two conversations pausing, as both humans and Netherians watched the strange, beautiful dance unfolding before them. There was no protocol for this, no diplomatic precedent for how to respond when a human server taught an alien princess to dance. The music ended and Lyra was breathless with excitement. "Mother, did you see I danced? I actually danced." "I saw, little star," Zara said, her voice softer than any of her advisors had ever heard it. "Your daughter is remarkable, Your Majesty." Kate said as she stepped back, "She learns faster than any human child I have taught." "You teach dance?" Zara asked. Kate nodded. "To children with physical disabilities? Yes, I volunteer at a center when I am not working diplomatic events." "But you are a server here." Kate smiled, that simple expressive gesture again. "I am many things, Your Majesty. We humans often contain contradictions." The diplomatic reception continued, but something fundamental had changed. The tension in the room had lessened. Human diplomats approached the Netherian delegation. With greater ease, conversations flowed more naturally. Ambassador Cruz sidled up to Zara. "Your daughter and Kate have accomplished more diplomacy in 10 minutes than our teams have managed in 3 months." Zara considered this. The princess has always been gifted at building connections, as has Kate, Cruz replied. "Though I suspect neither of them was thinking about diplomacy just now. They simply connected as people beyond their species." "This Kate," Zara said carefully. "She teaches others, with physical limitations, to express themselves through movement." Cruz nodded. "She runs a program at a rehabilitation center in the city for children and adults with various disabilities. Her work has been quite revolutionary in adapting traditional dance forms to different bodies and abilities. And yet she serves food at diplomatic functions," Cruz laughed. "Kate says the diplomatic work pays well, and the schedule allows her to volunteer during the day. When we learned of your daughter's condition, we thought her perspective might be valuable." "You placed her here deliberately," Zara realized. "We placed many people here deliberately, Empress," Cruz replied with a diplomatic smile. "Just as I suspect you did with your own delegation. Diplomacy is rarely left to chance." Zara conceded the point with a slight nod, though she was troubled by how easily the humans had identified Lyra's condition and anticipated her interest. Such perceptiveness was unexpected. Across the room, Lyra and Kate continued their conversation, now joined by several other humans, and even 2 Netherian scientists. Lyra was demonstrating something with her arms, her face animated with excitement. Something shifted in Zara, then a fundamental realignment. In her 17 centuries of life leading her empire across the stars, she had catalogued countless species, but none had made her daughter dance. None had looked at a princess in a hover chair and seen not what she lacked, but what she could become. Zara of House Vex stood at the enormous viewport of her personal chamber, aboard the imperial vessel Crown of Eternity. Her 7-foot frame cast a long shadow across the polished obsidian floor as her 4 eyes gazed out at the small blue planet, turning slowly below. The humans called it Earth, a simple name for what they believed was an ordinary world. How wrong they were. As Supreme Empress of the Netherian Empire spanning 17 star systems, Zara rarely found anything that surprised her, yet these humans with their fragile bodies and brief lives had managed to do just that. Their resilience, their creativity, their strange emotional depth. It was all so different from her own people. The Netherians had discovered Earth quite by accident. A routine survey mission had detected unusual energy signatures emanating from the 3rd planet of an unremarkable yellow star. What they found was a species barely into their space age, yet already displaying technological innovation that rivaled much older civilizations. For 3 cycles, Zara had studied human transmissions, learning their languages, watching their entertainment and news broadcasts. She found herself drawn to their stories, their art, their music, all of it so chaotic, and yet somehow beautiful. Netherian art was precise, mathematical, perfect. Human art was messy, emotional, alive. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she said, her voice resonating with the natural harmonic tones of her species. The door slid open and her daughter Lyra glided in on her hover chair. Her slender form was wrapped in shimmering ceremonial robes, but nothing could hide the atrophy in her lower limbs. The genetic disorder was rare among Netherians, but cruelly, it had struck. The imperial bloodline. "Mother, you promised to accompany me to observe the humans today," Lyra said, her dual voice patterns betraying her excitement, despite her attempt at formal address. Zara softened at the sight of her daughter. "So I did little. Star, we depart in one rotation." Lyra had been fascinated by humans since first learning of them. She had watched every transmission, studied every report, begged to join the diplomatic mission despite her condition. Zara had finally relented, though. She remained protective. "Have you prepared your cultural analysis parameters?" Zara asked. "Yes, Mother. I want to observe their social structures, especially how they integrate those with physical limitations," Lyra replied, her eyes bright with intelligence. "Their species seems so fragile, yet they adapt to almost any circumstance." Zara nodded. Knowing the real reason behind her daughter's interest, Lyra had never met another Netherian with a physical disability like hers. The Empire practiced selective genetics, ensuring such conditions were extremely rare. Those born with such conditions were cared for but often hidden away. Lyra was only visible because of her royal blood. The diplomatic team reports that humans treat physical difference with varying degrees of accommodation, Zara said carefully. Some regions of their world provide extensive support, while others offer almost none. It is inconsistent, like much of their civilization. "That is what fascinates me," Lyra replied. "They are inconsistent, yet they progress. They argue, they fight, but they also create and innovate. Perhaps there is strength in their chaos." Zara considered her daughter's words. She had ruled the Empire for over 17 centuries, guiding her people with the traditional Netherian values of order, precision, and logic. Emotions were acknowledged but controlled. Change was carefully managed. Progress was planned decades in advance. The idea that chaos could breed strength was almost heretical. The diplomatic reception was being held in what the humans called Switzerland, a neutral territory, where the Netherian delegation could meet with Earth representatives. Both sides were careful. Their first official contact only 3 lunar cycles ago had gone well enough, but tensions remained high. Humans feared conquest. Netherians feared contamination. Both fears were misplaced in Zara's assessment. But perception mattered more than reality in such delicate matters. Their shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, giving Lyra her first glimpse of the planet's surface. Her eyes widened at the sight of mountains, forests, lakes, and human settlements, all existing in seemingly random patterns, so unlike the careful urban planning of Netherian worlds. "It is so wild," she whispered, "so uncontrolled." "Yes," Zara agreed. "Their world shapes them as much as they shape it. Perhaps that is why they adapt so readily." The human diplomatic facility was surrounded by tall green trees and snow-capped mountains. Guards from both species stood at attention as the Imperial party arrived. Zara noted the curious glances from the humans, their eyes drawn to her height, her forearms, her scaled skin. They tried to hide their stares, but human faces were so expressive, so transparent. Lyra moved her hoverchair forward eagerly, drinking in every detail of the human structure, the materials, the design elements, the accommodations for different body types. She noted the ramps alongside the stairs, the varied seating options, the attention to both form and function. "Mother, look," she said softly. "They build for diversity." Inside the reception hall, human diplomats waited alongside their staff. The ceiling was barely 15 feet high, forcing Zara and her guards to stoop slightly, a concession the humans had made after learning of Netherian height requirements, but not quite enough. She noted this, filed it away as data on human attention to detail, or lack thereof. Empress Zara. A human female stepped forward. "I am Madeline Cruz, Earth Diplomatic Corps. Welcome to our facility. I hope you find the accommodations suitable." Zara inclined her head slightly. "Ambassador Cruz, the hospitality of Earth is acknowledged." The formal greetings continued, introductions made, assurances exchanged. Lyra observed it all from her hover chair, occasionally asking questions, which Zara answered patiently. All standard diplomatic procedure. Nothing unexpected, until the servers arrived. They moved throughout the room offering food and drinks, a simple background task in any diplomatic function. Yet Lyra could not take her eyes off one particular server, a human female with light brown hair who moved with unusual grace. Her motion seemed almost choreographed as she arranged small food items on trays and offered refreshments to the guests. "Mother, who is that human?" Lyra asked. "A server child." "Nothing more," Zara replied dismissively, but Lyra continued to watch the human woman with intense interest. Over the next 3 weeks, Lyra spent every available moment at the dance center. Her hover chair had been modified by a joint team of human and Netherian engineers, allowing greater range of motion and responsiveness. Kate had worked with her daily, developing a unique dance form that honored Netherian traditions while incorporating human adaptability. Zara found herself drawn to these sessions, watching from the observation area as her daughter blossomed. She had always known Lyra was intelligent, capable, but she had never seen her truly joyful until now. "Your Majesty," Kate approached her after one session. "May I speak with you?" Zara inclined her head, granting permission. The human had proven herself worthy of direct address. "Princess Lyra has remarkable talent," Kate said. "Her ability to synthesize movement concepts and adapt them to her physiology exceeds anything I have seen in human students. She has created something entirely new." "She has always been creative," Zara acknowledged. "Though our culture provided limited outlets for such expression," Kate nodded. "That is what I wish to discuss, Your Majesty. The princess has expressed interest in developing a program similar to ours for Netherian children with physical differences. She believes what she has learned here could benefit others in your empire." Zara went very still. This was unexpected. Lyra had always accepted the empire's approach to physical difference. The notion that she would challenge it was troubling, yet also somehow fitting given recent events. Such a program would require significant cultural adjustment, Zara said carefully. "Yes," Kate agreed. "But cultural adjustment is happening already, isn't it? Your presence here, the diplomatic mission, the cultural exchanges. The universe is expanding for both our species. You speak boldly for a dance instructor." Kate smiled. "On Earth, Your Majesty, our roles do not always define us. My official title at this center is Adaptive Movement Specialist with a doctorate. In therapeutic kinesiology, I chose to serve at the diplomatic reception because I wanted to see the Netherians for myself." "You have accomplished more than observation," Zara noted. "So has Lyra." Kate replied. "She has affected every child in my classes. They now incorporate Netherian movement patterns into their dances. They ask about your culture, your art, your world. They see beyond difference to possibility." Zara considered this. The diplomatic team had reported similar phenomena across various exchange programs. Humans adopting Netherian precision in their work. Netherians experimenting with human creative approaches. Each species learning from the other in ways the formal negotiations had not predicted. "The princess wishes to perform," Kate said after a moment. "In the cultural showcase at the end of the diplomatic mission, she has been preparing a piece that demonstrates the synthesis of our dance traditions." "A public performance," Zara said, her tone neutral, though concern flickered. Within her, that would be unprecedented. "Many things between our worlds are unprecedented, Empress," Kate replied. "That is what makes this moment so important." That evening, Zara called her imperial advisors together. The diplomatic mission had been extended twice already, far longer than originally planned. The human governments were proving more complex to negotiate with than anticipated, their fractious nature, and multiple power centers making unified agreements difficult. The humans require additional concessions on technology transfer. First Minister Krell reported, his tone disapproving. "They claim our restrictions are too limiting. Their security protocols are insufficient." Security Director Voss countered, "They cannot guarantee our technology will remain contained. Yet they freely share their cultural innovations." Science Minister Tala noted, "Their adaptive technologies, their artistic methods, their educational approaches, all offered without restriction. Because these pose no strategic threat. Krell dismissed, do they not? Zara asked softly. My daughter has learned to dance. The advisors fell silent. This was not a diplomatic point they had been prepared to address. She wishes to perform publicly, Zara continued, to demonstrate what she has learned, to show the Empire that physical difference does not preclude artistic expression. Your Majesty, such a display would contradict centuries of cultural practice. Krell objected. Those with genetic variations are honored, but not displayed. It would confuse our people. Perhaps our people should be confused, Zara replied. Perhaps after 17 centuries of certainty, some confusion would be beneficial. The advisors exchanged glances. This was not the Empress they knew, the precise logical ruler who had guided the Empire with unwavering clarity. The diplomatic mission will be extended another full cycle, Zara announced, and I am authorizing additional cultural exchange initiatives, particularly in adaptive technologies and arts. Empress, is this wise? Voss asked. The humans are unpredictable. Their influence spreads quickly. Yes, Zara agreed. That is precisely why we must understand them better. Their unpredictability, their adaptability, their embrace of difference. These qualities have allowed them to advance in decades what took our species centuries. They are reckless, Krell argued. They rush forward without proper analysis, without considering consequences. Sometimes, Zara acknowledged, but they also innovate at a rate we cannot match precisely because they do not fear failure. Their greatest strengths emerge from their greatest weaknesses. Their brief lives make them value time differently. Their physical fragility makes them seek adaptations. Their diversity forces them to accommodate difference. She stood, moving to the viewport where Earth hung in the darkness. We have achieved perfection, she said softly. And in doing so, we have stopped growing. The cultural showcase was held in a large human facility, specially adapted for the event. Representatives from both species gathered to share music, art, literature, and dance. The event was being transmitted across Earth and to the Netherian homeworlds. The first such shared broadcast between the species. Zara sat in the position of honor, her advisors arranged around her, their posture betraying their continued unease. Human dignitaries filled the other seats, the atmosphere one of cautious optimism. The showcase began with traditional performances from both worlds. Human musicians played classical pieces while Netherian tone shapers created mathematical sound structures. Each performance was met with polite appreciation, cultural differences acknowledged, artistic merit recognized. Then it was time for the hybrid performances, those created specifically for the diplomatic mission. Artists from both worlds who had collaborated to create something new. Next, we present a unique dance piece, The Human, announcer said, created and performed by Princess Lyra of House Vex with choreographic direction by Catherine Mason. This piece, entitled Bridge Between Stars, represents the first collaborative dance work between our worlds. Murmurs rippled through. The Netherian delegation. Zara had not informed them of Lyra's performance. Many looked distinctly uncomfortable at the idea of an imperial princess, with a genetic condition, performing publicly. The stage darkened. Then a single spotlight illuminated Lyra in her hover chair. The chair itself had been transformed, decorated with elements representing both worlds. Its movements now fluid, precise, as Lyra began to dance. What followed silenced every voice in the hall. Human and Netherian alike watched, transfixed as Lyra performed movements that should have been impossible. The hover chair became an extension of her body, rising, falling, spinning as her arms created patterns in the air that told a story of limitation transformed. The music combined Netherian tonal mathematics with human emotional melodies, creating something entirely new that somehow spoke to both species. Music that followed no existing rules, yet created a new harmony. When the performance ended, there was a moment of complete silence. Then the humans began to applaud. The sound grew until it filled the hall. Zara looked around at her advisors, their faces showing confusion, uncertainty, but also something else. Something she had rarely seen in her imperial court wonder. The next morning, Zara found her daughter already awake, studying human dance videos on her data terminal. "You did not rest," Zara observed. "How could I?" Lyra replied, not looking away from the screen. "Mother, there is an entire art form here adapted for bodies like mine. The human Kate gave me access to their global information network section on adaptive dance." Look, Zara watched as humans in various mobility devices performed complex movement patterns. Some used their arms like Lyra had, while others incorporated their mobility devices as part of the dance itself. The chairs spun, dipped, and rose, becoming extensions of the dancers rather than limitations. Kate says, with proper training, and perhaps some modifications to my hover chair, I could learn any of these forms. Lyra continued, her voice brimming with excitement. She has invited us to visit her teaching center today. Zara frowned. That was not in the diplomatic schedule. I took the liberty of speaking with Ambassador Cruz, Lyra replied, finally turning to face her mother. She has arranged a cultural exchange visit. The diplomatic team can continue their discussions while we observe this human adaptive art form. You arranged this without consulting me, Zara said, her tone cooling. Lyra did not lower her gaze as protocol demanded. Instead, she met her mother's eyes directly, a challenging posture for a Netherian. I am acting as cultural attaché as you appointed me. If we truly wish to understand humans, we must see how they adapt to challenges, how they transform limitation into art. Zara considered refusing, but the determination in her daughter's eyes gave her pause. In 17 centuries, she had never seen Lyra so passionate about anything. Very well, she conceded, but we will take a full security detail. The Human Dance Center was located in a modest building in the city, a simple structure with large windows and ramps at every entrance. Humans of various ages and physical conditions moved about, some in mobility devices similar to Lyra's, others using supporting frames or prosthetic limbs. Kate greeted them at the entrance, her expression brightening at the sight of Lyra. Princess, I am so glad you could come. Then noticing Zara and the 6 armed guards behind her, Empress, this is an unexpected honor. My mother wished to observe your teaching methods, Lyra explained quickly. Kate nodded, seeming unfazed by the presence of the Netherian Empress and her guards. Of course we have a class, beginning shortly with students ages 8 to 12. Would you prefer to observe or participate? Observe, Zara said at the same moment. Lyra said, participate. They looked at each other, Lyra with pleading eyes, Zara with concern. Perhaps the Empress could observe while the princess participates, Kate suggested diplomatically. Our viewing area has been adjusted for Netherian height requirements. The class was unlike anything Zara had ever witnessed. 12 human children with various physical conditions gathered in a large room with mirrored walls. Some used mobility chairs like Lyra. Others had missing limbs or movement limitations. Each child was different, yet Kate treated them all with the same patient attention she had shown Lyra today. We have a special guest, Kate announced. Princess Lyra from the Netherian Empire. She will be joining our class. The children stared at Lyra with undisguised curiosity. One small human with curly red hair raised a hand. Are you really a princess? From space? She asked. Lyra nodded. I am Lyra of House Vex, daughter of Empress Zara, ruler of 17 star systems. The children seemed impressed, but another child, a boy in a mobility chair similar to Lyra's, asked the question Zara had been dreading. Why? Do you use a chair like mine? Zara tensed, waiting for the familiar shadow to cross her daughter's face, the reminder of her difference. But Lyra surprised her. I was born with a condition that affects my neural pathways to my lower limbs, she explained, simply, just as some of you were. But your teacher, Kate, has shown me that this does not mean I cannot dance. The children accepted this with nods and smiles. One girl with prosthetic legs moved her chair closer to Lyra. I can show you some of the Moves Kate taught me for chair dancing. What followed was 2 hours of movement instruction, Kate leading the class through various routines adapted for each child's specific abilities. The human children helped Lyra adjust movements for her Netherian, physiology laughing together when attempts failed. Celebrating when they succeeded, Zara watched from the observation area, her guards shifting uncomfortably beside her. They were trained to protect against physical threats, not to process the sight of their princess learning dance moves from human children. Remarkable, isn't it? Zara turned to find Ambassador Cruz had entered the observation room. "You followed us," Zara stated. Cruz smiled. "Cultural exchange works both ways, Empress. I wanted to see your reaction to our adaptive programs. This is not representative of all human treatment of physical difference," Zara noted. "Our research indicates many humans still face barriers and discrimination." "True," Cruz acknowledged. "We are imperfect. We struggle. We make mistakes, but we also innovate, adapt, and celebrate difference in ways that matter. Look at your daughter." Lyra was performing a synchronized movement with 3 human children, their chairs forming a pattern as their arms created flowing shapes in the air. Her face glowed with the bioluminescence of pure joy. "In your empire, how many Netherians with her condition are visible in society?" Cruz asked softly. Zara did not answer. The truth was painful. None outside the Imperial family Netherian society valued perfection, precision. Those born with conditions like Lyra's were provided for but kept from public view, their existence acknowledged but not celebrated. "We have different values," Zara said finally. "Do we?" Cruz asked. "Or do we simply express the same values differently? You value strength, precision, excellence, so do we. But we have learned that these qualities manifest in unexpected ways, through diversity, through challenge, through adaptation." The class ended, with each student performing a short solo demonstrating what they had learned. When Lyra's turn came, she executed a series of movements that combined Netherian formal gestures with human dance techniques. The result was something entirely new. Neither fully human nor fully Netherian, but beautiful in its hybrid nature. The human children applauded loudly, a custom Lyra had clearly explained to them as she bowed in Netherian fashion, her upper body dipping forward, arms extended in formal gratitude. Afterward, as they prepared to return to the diplomatic facility, Lyra could speak of nothing else. "Mother, did you see how they adapted each movement to the individual? No standardization, no uniform approach. Yet the result was harmonious. They celebrate the unique qualities of each dancer," I observed. Zara acknowledged. "Kate has invited me to return tomorrow. She believes with some modifications to my hover chair, I could perform even more complex movements. She has already spoken with your engineering team about possible adaptations." Zara raised an eyebrow. "She has been busy. She says humans value efficiency," Lyra replied with a small smile, "though their definition seems different from ours." That night, Zara reviewed the diplomatic report's security, assessments, and cultural analyses. The formal negotiations were proceeding slowly, humans cautious about Netherian technology, Netherians concerned about human unpredictability. Both sides measuring each word carefully, yet in a dance studio children had built bridges in hours. 6 lunar cycles later, the Netherian Empire and Earth signed their first formal treaties, technology exchange agreements, trade protocols, cultural cooperation pacts. The negotiations had been complex, sometimes contentious, but ultimately productive. Both sides had compromised. Both sides had gained. Kate Mason became the first human granted imperial citizenship, her dance therapy program for disabled Netherian children receiving full imperial funding. 5 human adaptive specialists accompanied her to the Netherian homeworld, while 7 Netherian scientists joined Earth's leading research centers on mobility technology, and Empress Zara of House Vex found herself changed forever by a species she had once considered fragile and brief, discovering that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in domination, but in the ability to see possibility where others see only limitation. The day the treaties were signed, Lyra performed the dance of new beginnings, her hover chair now modified with Netherian and human technology allowing movements once thought impossible. Her dance partner that day was Kate, her human friend who had shown an alien princess that boundaries existed only in the mind as Zara watched her daughter dance. She understood finally what made humans truly special. They dreamed not of conquest but of bridges, and in doing so they had conquered something far greater than any empire ever could. One full cycle later, Zara stood again at the viewport of the crown of eternity Earth, now a familiar blue sphere below. But the ship was not alone. A dozen Netherian vessels surrounded it, each carrying dignitaries, scientists, artists, all come to witness the opening of the first permanent Netherian embassy on Earth. Mother, the transport, is ready. Lyra glided into the chamber, her hover chair humming softly. The human delegation awaits us. Zara turned, studying her daughter. Lyra had changed in the past cycle. Her confidence, her presence, her voice all stronger. The choreography program she had established now included 20 Netherian children with various physical conditions, all learning to dance, all visible proud. You have transformed much, little star, Zara said softly. Not just me. Lyra replied. The Empire itself changes. The humans have affected us in ways no one predicted. It was true. In just one cycle, Netherian society had begun subtle but profound shifts. The rigid hierarchies remained, but flexibility had entered their structures. Adaptation, once considered a concession to imperfection, was now studied as a strength. Difference, once hidden, was increasingly visible. First Minister Krell has submitted his resignation, Zara noted. He claims the pace of change threatens imperial stability. Lyra nodded, unsurprised. And Science Minister Tala has proposed expanding her department to include human creative methodologies. The council is divided. As is appropriate, Zara replied. We learn from humans that some division, some disagreement breeds innovation. Our perfect unity kept us static for too long. The transport to Earth was ceremonial, surrounded by honor guards from both worlds. As they descended through the atmosphere, Zara observed the human cities spread across the landscape, still chaotic, unplanned compared to Netherian settlements, but now familiar, almost comforting in their unpredictability. The embassy site had been selected carefully, a neutral location with significance to human history. The building itself represented both cultures, Netherian precision, in its structural elements, human creativity in its design features. Most importantly, it had been built to accommodate all forms of mobility, all types of bodies. Kate waited at the entrance, her position now official cultural attaché to the Netherian embassy. She bowed in perfect Netherian style as Zara and Lyra approached. Empress Princess, welcome to your Earth home. The formal ceremony proceeded according to protocol. Speeches made, promises exchanged, the necessary diplomatic rituals observed. But throughout, Zara found her attention drawn to the human and Netherian children gathered to one side, each representing those with physical differences, each now a student in the joint adaptive dance program Lyra and Kate had established. When the ceremony concluded, these children performed together a dance that required no translation, their movements telling a story older than either civilization, the story of barriers overcome, of limitations transcended. Later, as the diplomatic reception continued, Zara found herself approached by a human female she recognized from previous meetings. Empress Zara, the human said with a respectful nod. I am Dr. Olivia Chen, Chief of Adaptive Technology at Geneva Medical Center. I wanted to thank you, personally. For what specifically, Dr. Chen? Zara asked. The Netherian neural interface technology your scientists shared. It has revolutionized our prosthetic development. Already 50 human patients have regained movement they thought lost forever. Zara nodded. A worthy application of our technology. Your adaptive designs have similarly benefited our people. That is what I find most remarkable about this alliance, Dr. Chen said. How complementary our strengths and weaknesses are, your precision, our adaptability, your longevity, our urgency, your stability, our creativity. Together we accomplish what neither could alone. A bridge between stars, Zara murmured, echoing the title of Lyra's first dance piece. Exactly. Dr. Chen smiled. Though I suspect, the bridge extends far beyond our two species. The precedent we establish here will affect how humanity approaches all future encounters. Zara considered this. The doctor was correct. Of course, the Netherian Empire had encountered dozens of species over its long history, but always from a position of superiority, always with the assumption that the Netherian way was optimal. This was the first true exchange of equals, despite the vast differences in technological development and territorial reach across the room. Lyra was demonstrating something to a group of human and Netherian observers, her hoverchair executing a complex series of movements as she explained the neural interfaces that allowed such precise control. Her face animated, with the joy of sharing knowledge. Your daughter has become quite the diplomat, Dr. Chen observed. She has found her purpose, Zara replied, as bridges often do. That night, after the ceremonies were complete and the diplomatic teams had retired, Zara stood on the balcony of the embassy looking out at the human city. The light spread in all directions like stars fallen to earth. Chaotic, beautiful, alive, Kate joined her, offering a cup of the human beverage called tea, which Zara had developed a taste for. A successful day, Your Majesty? Kate said, Indeed. Zara agreed, though I suspect the true success lies not in the treaties signed but in the connections formed. Like you and your daughter, Zara looked at the human with new appreciation. Kate had always been perceptive. Yes, our relationship has evolved beyond traditional imperial bonds. She challenges me now, questions decisions, proposes alternatives. And the Empire is stronger for it. Yes, Zara admitted, just as Earth is stronger, for embracing those you once might have hidden away. Their different perspectives, their unique solutions to problems, their determination to adapt rather than concede. That is humanity's greatest strength, I think, Kate said. Not our technology or our art, but our stubborn refusal to accept limitation as final. We always believe there must be another way. A dangerous philosophy, Zara noted, but a powerful one. Below them, the city continued its nightly rhythms, humans going about their brief, intense lives unaware of how they had changed an empire spanning 17 star systems, unaware that their stubborn hope, their messy creativity, their embrace of difference had accomplished what no weapon ever could. They had conquered without conquest. They had won through inclusion. They had built a bridge between stars, and standing there looking out at the human city, Empress Zara of House Vex, ruler of the Netherian Empire, for 17 centuries, knew that the universe would never be the same again, all because a human server had watched a disabled alien princess and thought not of limitations, but of possibility.